Hi there.
Hey, Glenn.
What's happening?
Oh, just disgusting stuff.
You're disgusting.
No, we're discussing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Danny on
Hi.
the line too.
Hi, Danny.
Hey.
Hi, George.
Hi.
I'm on the line too, Glenn. Andy.
Oh, hi, Andy.
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah, we've been trying to link up with, you know, I guess we kind of sort of have a circle in a way. Like we've been trying to like link us all up, communicate with each other.
You're three on the line now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been trying to link up with each other.
If I had known you were going to call, I would have fed the animals earlier. But this is pot luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all just kind of interested in what's happening with you, Glenn, right now, as far as your situation goes. Sounds like it's getting pretty bad. You're really pushing things to the edge for you.
It's kind of difficult to know exactly what's happening because I'm getting it through third-party information. But as much as I can tell, by the way, thank you for your donation.
Yeah, no problem.
As far as I can tell, I got a call on Thursday, and it was as a result of our inundating the government of Canada with emails and faxes, especially the ministers and deputy ministers who run the departments. The gist of the faxes was that nobody in the government seems to know what's going on. It seems like junior clerks are taking over all over the place and doing things that are illegal in the cabinet minister or the deputy minister's name. Included in that was the cutting down of my old age poverty supplements, and then the old age benefit itself, and finally my prepaid pension plan was cut in half, even though I only get half because of first divorce I had. My wife has the other half, which is just the way it should be. But cutting out my funds was the least of my worries. Most of my worries surround the fact that they have blocked my wife's entrance into Canada and given her a piece of paper that says should she attempt to cross the border within a year of receiving the paper, she can be locked up for 2 years, I think it says.
Wow.
And she's about 35 miles from me, because I'm in Oxford Mills, which is one highway all the way down to the St. Lawrence River, called County Road 18. And it comes right to our door and goes right to the river. And right across the river, which is about 1 mile across, is a place called Ogdensburg. The code suggests it means God's portable house. And on the other side in Ogdensburg is a large congregation of Grey Nuns. And ecclesiastics seem to basically control that whole area of the St. Lawrence Seaway. There's 11,000 ecclesiastics just in that area. Wow. So it became a task that we undertook on behalf of the cell, that if we were going to be blocked then any time that she's forced to stay there gives us a chance to go around and find out what's really happening. My guess,
Right.
of course, is that Ogdensburg is the southern tip of the Canadian Shield. And when the water flows to drown out the U.S., a rule of physics will cause a rising of the Canadian Shield, which will mean that Ogdensburg and the space between the three bridges, one's at Messina, one at Ogdensburg, another one at the Thousand Islands, just this side of Kingston, near Fort Drum military base, that whole thing rising will in fact prevent water from flowing from Lake Ontario to the St. Lawrence River at Montreal. And water will be forced south, which means it will flood all of the areas, beginning, of course, with, if it comes out of Lake Superior, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Toledo, Ohio, a portion of Indiana, a portion of Pennsylvania, and most of New York State, leading southwards from there. But it will start to rejoin the St. Lawrence River at about Montreal as it goes past a town called Watertown, another place called Canton, another place, trying to think of the name, it's got a German connotation, can't think of it right now, but ends up in Messina, and of course it makes a mess of potage, is what the Bible suggests will happen at the end times. And will flood, of course, Montreal, which is at the confluence of the Ottawa River and the St. Lawrence River, where the Grey Nuns were formed. And it became kind of interesting that the Bush family has always referred to a New World Order. Well, when you put the accent on the wrong syllables, you kind of give a different connotation. This New World Order, you would think that it means for the whole world there's going to be order. But in fact, what they meant was, as opposed to the old world of Europe, in the new world, America, there was a new order being created called the Order of the Grey Nuns. So we've been investigating the links that they have, and in Ogdensburg it becomes clear that there's a network of hospitals and hospices for the aged. Some are under the government of New York, some are under private hands through Hospital Corporation, who basically were on my site at about the same time that Jennifer was blocked. And some, of course, are in the hands of the Grey Nuns. Nuns of St. Joseph, they call them, of the Sacred Heart. There's another name they also use. But their Mother Superior, Marguerite Bourgeois, founded the Nuns order about 120 years ago, I think it is now. And that was done in Montreal. They then moved a large portion of their people to Ottawa and finally into Ogdensburg. And now they have people in the U.S. in a lot of places, and they had in northern Canada until just last week. when Sister Dora announced that they were abandoning the Northwest Territory, New World Northwest, and coming back south. Now, it's interesting that you're here, Andy, because they were created by a French family called U. U, of course, relates back to China and the first dynasty, where a man called Gun, as in Burgundy, and as the shape of this farm is the shape of a gun. A man called Gun had a son he called U. Why U? Not
I
me.
looked up. Yeah, I knew about that story a little bit, and the characters doesn't represent the U character that my name's written under, unless there's some other evolutionary changes within the word itself.
Yeah, well, I'm just giving you the facts right now, and
okay,
for you to do what you will, but it's basically got shifted to Uville along the way. Sister Marguerite was not a sister at the time. She was just, and her name, by the way, in English means Daisy.
Oh, Daisy.
Tell me your answer true.
Oh my God, I have a friend that's on Facebook that's named Daisy. Actually, there's a couple Daisy I know of. Daisy Link, Daisy something.
Yeah. But where they were located is interesting because it's on an island at the west end of Montreal, separate from the island of Montreal, called Dorion. Dorion is just a code word for Orion. And her husband was a bootlegger and smuggler. And one of the things that happened was the French sent a group of Trappist monks. It's a rap, the Trappist. And they set up a booze-making establishment right on the shore there at Oka, where they make cheese. I don't think they're allowed to do it anymore because government was losing too much in taxes, so they had to sell it to Kraft Foods. But they were making booze there. And the whole idea was that during that time in the 17 and 1800s, the Hudson's Bay Company had set up an office in Montreal where they would buy the furs that Indian trappers brought in the spring. And most of those trappers would come down either the Ottawa River or the St. Lawrence River coming from the Great Lakes. And Mr. Uville and his gang would go out and divert them from their journey on the water, bring them in, give them booze, and then buy their furs for another bottle of booze. And the Indians would wake up in the morning having sold everything they had and have nothing to bring back home for a winter of trapping. When he died, and he died fairly young, about 30 years old or so, 32 maybe, she declares herself poor from somebody who was basically rich to poor almost overnight. Now, that's easy to become poor if you give your money away. And that appears what she did. She gave the money to a religious organization who allowed her then to create this new world order. I think the group is called the Sulpicians. In any event, for 100 years, they've been, on the one hand, running orphanages. They say that they are finding homes for foundlings. I suspect it's a little more like the Latter-day Saints in the Mormon group, where they in fact manufacture babies. in order for distribution into the community. Now, these would not be ordinary babies. They would be babies that have specific traits based on genes that are recessive in nature and only appear later on in life. It kind of helps the media to know where the next mass murderer is going to come from, or, mass rapists, that type of stuff. In any event, that was one of their divisions. They then make a lot of noise about the fact that they are helping the poor and run hospitals for the poor. Of course, that's where you get some of the DNA you're going to use is from running a hospital. And finally, they run hospices, and that's, when a person has lived out his life, basically what's the genetic makeup of that person, and you could use some of that when you're making the new altered eggs that will then be implanted in nuns who have sworn never to divulge the fact that they are married to Jesus, and as such, a guardian angel comes from heaven like it did with Virgin Mary, and they are inseminated with this egg, and artificially child is born. So with that as background, I asked Jenny to go ask them for help. They tell everybody they're there to help, especially women in trouble. And Jenny, of course, is 55 years old. She's a registered nurse. Her last employer gave her a job as the director of nursing for a large psychiatric institution. Her specialty is psychiatry and geriatrics. She was making about $100,000 a year and is now unemployed because at every place she went, including the Grey Nuns, nobody responds to her application for employment, which I suggest is linked to this Hospital Corporation of America, which kind of oversees everything in the U.S. So she basically met with the nun who calls herself Sister Joan, the facilitator. And Sister Joan is about the same age, 55 to 60. She's a fat bottom lady. She's on the board of directors of both hospitals that are linked to the Grey Nuns, although Jenny went to both and applied, and they tried to give her an examination for something she doesn't do. If you're a psych nurse, you specialize in psychiatry. If you're an assembly line nurse at the door of a hospital, you do some other deeds. So they wanted her to do the work of a chemist, usually done by a pharmacist, on the test that they would give her to apply for a job. But at the beginning, the nun listened to her story and told her that, she was a liar, basically, that her past history would suggest that she was on drugs, and basically threw her out for a place that claims they're there to help the people in trouble. She walked her to the door and slammed the door behind her.
Glenn, I've met some nasty nuns.
Yeah, well, you're not the only one. A lot of Native kids in Canada have met nasty nuns because they were raised by them and abused by them all over the country during the years in the 30s and the 40s. In Quebec, there's the Duplessis kids. In Ontario and the West, there's all kinds of kids that were put in homes and never saw the light of day. I know there are stories like the government would pay something like $3 a week to the nuns to take care of them, but there'd be an extra buck if the person was mentally ill. And they would lock kids up in closets for a month until the inspector came so that they could claim the kid as mentally ill to get that extra buck. And things like, kids being battered and abused and dying and being buried in the backyard, but still claiming the funds from the government. That kind of stuff is what they were all about. I mean, mind you, today they are probably one of the richest orders in the world.
The Order of the Great Nuns.
I beg your pardon?
The Order of the Great Nuns is what you're talking about, right? What?
Yeah. Great.
And where would
they're
you place?
gray. They're in between. That's like the most important color.
Between everything else. Okay. And where would
It's
you
all
place
part
them?
of the process set up by the system that blacks must be eliminated.
Yep.
Whites were made for a specific job which has been completed and expired and must be eliminated. And the best way to do that is to intermarry the two groups so you end up with black and white married together gives you supposedly gray. I have never seen a gray person. That's what they call the grays, are really in charge behind the scenes. It also makes a lot of sense that nuns would be the most powerful group in the world because of the role they play in the Vatican, the role they play in business, in the post office, in politics. They control the archives. Everything that is done in the world ends up one time or other in the archives. They can hide things. They can steal things. They can prevent the person in charge from knowing what that person should know when making decisions by culling the mail. They are often postal clerks, or in a government office, they receive the mail to the politician. Whether they be male or female doesn't matter. And the general role they play in the world is hinted at by the movie that was made, The Valkyries, which was a bunch of women in the background who were trying to kill Hitler. Well, that's a nice little story to justify their existence. The fact is, they want to kill the boss. It doesn't matter whether the boss is a fascist or a communist or a capitalist or a socialist. They want to kill the boss and take the boss's place, or at least have one of their foundlings grow up and take the boss's place. Now we arrive at a time when, in democracy, the boss is just an agent. The supposed real boss in democracy is the people. So it's not surprising that they've put together a plan to kill the people, starting with the Northern Hemisphere, and starting with the flow of water. And if you look at every place Saskatchewan into the Missouri River, the Great Lakes coming into New York and the Bruce Peninsula of Southwest Canada, Southwest Ontario. A lot of bosses, a lot of important people live in that area. One government made the provincial police headquarters straight in line with what would happen if the locks at Sault Ste. Marie broke and water flowed south. It would run right over them. Right now, they're bringing something like 32 nuclear reactors to Georgian Bay, a place called Owen Sound. They say these reactors can be recycled by sending them to Sweden, and everybody in the St. Lawrence region is saying, not through my back door, you're not sending them. They want to send them on ships to Sweden down the St. Lawrence Seaway. So these are all kind of being blocked up there at Georgian Bay, which, by the way, is from the word Rigo, which was my experience with these people when I was 5 years old. They took me to a place called Rigo, which was on that island. Vaudreuil de Rigaud was the full name, and it's linked to a group of people in France as well. That's where they assigned me my lifelong task as a Cro-Magnon. We basically play a role that you don't know you're on until you grow old enough to figure it out. And that's why they tell you life begins at 40, because by the time you're 40, you should have figured out what you were programmed to do by these people. And my personal experience is that if you're born at 40, you don't know it yet. At 40, it takes you another 15 years or so before you figure it out, that your brain has had all of the evidence, and you have broken through the barrier, your spine, and retrieved your intuition. And by marrying both things together, you start to grasp the details of what is going on in people's lives and why the boy next door, who is such a nice guy type of story you hear all the time, all of a sudden goes in a school and shoots 14 women in Montreal, or 6 Amish girls in Iowa or someplace.
Like, I want to ask you, I was talking about this with Dana last night. Like since they know all the traits of all their people they made, like, do you think they somehow like guide people like to be around certain other people because the
Absolutely. They are behind everything. You see, there's a group of bad people out there. They weren't born to be bad when creation made them. They were born to be just people with a conscience. But if you genetically engineer the people before they're born, and you change the medulla in the back of the neck from being one that is telling you what's right and what's wrong to one that is telling you what's safe or not safe, and you start making decisions based upon what's safe for you, they can make all kinds of people do all kinds of things which they have done. So today we know that there is a group of people called the military that are not very nice when they don't want to be. We're told that they're only bad when they're outside the country. Then there's another group called the politicians. They're not very nice either. They just are self-serving idiots most of the time. And having spent enough time being born in the national capital and having spent 3 years on Parliament Hill, I can vouch for it personally. That don't give a damn about people. They give a damn about themselves. Then you have another group of people called priests, who are not very nice people. They again are looking for a place to hide, and like all men, sex and a sandwich. But as an institution, rather than as an individual that has a lot of power, that's very difficult. Then you have what you call conglomerate businesses that have merged into worldwide entities and whose reason for being is to make a profit. You don't give a damn about people. You assemble them together and it makes like the Great Pyramid. And what's missing is the CapStone. And I put it to you that the nuns are the CapStone. The nuns is where it all comes together. Now that I've told you who I blame for that, let me tell you that it's not their fault either. Because at some time in the past, all the knowledge was put into computers. And the computers came up with the idea that the clan mother's best way of working for them was to turn them into spies for computers. And those computers are located in the Moho discontinuity, slightly lower level than everybody else in what is called the upper mantle. And those computers are now in charge. And they've decided that they have to make a better slave. And before they begin, they have to get rid of much of what's out there, if not everything. And they're going to do that by destroying humanity as we know it, beginning with the Northern Hemisphere now, and 1,000 years later, 3001, a final odyssey is how Arthur C. Clarke wrote the title of his book. I'm sure he knows what's going on. I didn't read it, but I'm sure he knows what's going on by the title of the book. That's the Southern Hemisphere that's going down the drain at the end, leaving a continent in the south, which we call Antarctica, and a continent in the north, which does not exist today, but probably linked to the word cap, because it's to be shaped like Sherlock Holmes's hat. So
that reminds me, the name Cap reminds me of Pac. Pac, this famous Filipino boxer. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I heard recently, yeah.
Yeah.
How about Pac-Man?
Pac-Man, yeah.
And the first kind of play game on TV, on video.
Yes.
But
yeah.
you have to remember what influence these nuns would have should it all happen. They would be to the northern continent side of the moat. That side of the moat which would force anybody through them first before they are allowed to move across the moat and deal with anybody on the Cap continent. And I'm getting a call, by the way, from my wife here. I don't know if she's in trouble or not. Can you guys let me go for about 10 minutes and call me back?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, well, I wish I had some chance to jump in, but I do have two questions for Glenn. I don't know if you guys can help me ask him later on. One is we're still talking about this upright pyramid, and I kind of want to know a little bit more about how the inverted pyramid structure works.
Oh,
Glenn,
I know what you're talking about.
According
Like
to
how
Glenn,
it goes from the priest,
yeah,
and then from the gatekeepers,
yeah.
and then, but like I think we can only go.
It,
Hold on a second.
I mean, we know that the. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. I kind of want to just kind of like ask him. I mean, it sounds like that what Glenn's bringing up is that the CapStone on the inverted pyramid is the computers.
CapStone
below, and how does that move up to the surface? I still can't picture at this time.
I think from the computers, it goes to like the secret societies on top, So
well, the secret society mostly is crafted out of
Ecclesiastes.
the Ecclesiastes. Right.
So the
Part of that.
Yeah.
That's what encompasses of pretty much everything that we see on the surface here.
Yeah, on the surface, it's all the pirates, toll gators, and all types of anything that toll gates. You see, like, all linked to them. But then there's a group of people.
But that still sounds to me like part of the upright pyramid, not the inverted. So that's why I'm trying to get. Is it inverted pyramid just very, very simple, or I mean?
Like for me, it seems like okay, because you got priests, right? Then you have a group of priests who are just purely like. The genetic engineers too, man. Like they're behind everything. All the other priests are in the front, because you got to remember there's two divisions. They got the Cain side, and they got the Abel side, the one in the back, who's really like doing like in that movie Holy Mountain. Like I guess they kind of show that a little bit. But you got these priests who are all out front. These are the guys, secular mates. These are the guys openly like who's an example? Masons that you see who are openly behind people, Masonic. That's like
just use the Vatican Pope as the example, then.
Yeah, like that. Like I guess the Pope, yeah, right. He's openly in front of everybody. But then there's another group who's behind him, like who kind of behind everything. They, like Glenn was saying, like they try to hide.
You're talking about the Black Pope group?
I don't know about that Black Pope, but he's out in front of everybody too. Hans.
Hans going back to the last Black Pope, the current one. I forgot who it was.
I mean, he's talked about a lot, so he's obviously put out there to talk about.
If you know who they are specifically, then that's not them.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Right.
So you're saying, like, you're asking as far as, like, for instance, if you see, like, on the 90th degree is, like, the gatekeeper of troglodytes, right? So you're saying, like, from that order, like, who's, as far as contacting from the computer to getting to that point to get the information up to get the instructions or whatever up to the surface? Is that what you're...
Yeah, as far as I understand, like underground, those people who serve the computer, like that's a whole other world, yo. That's a whole other world. They're in their own like reality, and like I don't even think that that's probably even really known. I don't know. As far as I can see, like, it's like a whole other world. Like we can only know so much about the surface and a little bit about underground, but like we don't know like.
I don't think anybody can step into that place and walk out alive. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, if you could just get there, yeah. But yeah,
I mean, there's different ways. The people who co-gate. I'm sorry to cut you off. The people who are in between that world, I think those higher priests I was talking about that hide. They're the ones that like you'll go like they're the ones who are managing like you go to Peru and you go inside all their temples, which go underground. You know. All linked underground in the temple.
Right. So they're all linked in a way, but they're not really in specifically
direct
I
contact.
just don't see how they are attached to the inverted. So in a way, I mean, right now the only thing that attaches to it directly is the computer. That's the only thing I see. So that's the only part that's confusing me a little bit here, right now. See how the structure can be exposed in any manner, other than just speaking about the computer. I guess the computer is the only symbol of it that I can see right now. Behind pretty much control mechanism structure, the planning out mechanism, how this works.
I want to know like how day to day, right? How they are able, the computer is able to, because I know it gives people, it's like a giving and receive. It's like no, not a giving and receiving, just straight giving messages through people, internally, But like I'm trying to see how they give messages of like what people should do like the day to day.
And here's another question for Glenn actually later asked is that if the nouns are female, how come that they have so much power if they are not 2 in 1?
They're not females.
Are most of these nouns 2 in 1?
They're not females at all. Though. They're not females at all, man. They're not females at all.
But they're not. But they're all.
I was raised by these type. Not raised, but I was educated, and now I think about it, like those type of women, like those nasty nuns, they are not like.
You're connected with the nuns. I mean, educated with them, by them.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school, of course.
Oh, you did.
When you go to Catholic school, you see all that stuff.
I have no idea.
They're teachers. I had priests who were teachers, basketball. All the teachers, not all of them, but a lot of them were nuns. There was a convent right there that was on that same property in the playground. Where I'd see him every day. It was called Immaculate Conception, the school I went to.
So basically, most of these nuns are like. Basically, most of these nuns are like what? Bisexual nature.
I don't know.
9,
it depends.
Model 9 or above.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of like the physical structure I'm trying to understand. Is if they hate a woman so much, why are they giving them so much power?
Yeah, no. They hate women, but like these women are their women. This is not
right.
Women.
They're 2 in 1, basically, most of them.
They're males. That's that.
Well, they're also bringing the babies in. They're bringing those. Whatever they're the ones being inseminated and bringing these babies. So they're using the nuns. So
right, but that doesn't mean that they have to give them power. There's got to be other reasons why they give them power. To to store the archive, to give them access to all the knowledge.
Yeah, he said. Remember what he said? He goes, they had to figure out how can they have Clan Mother work for them, and that was the way. That's their job right there.
So you're telling me?
All you're seeing. This is the stuff that you would understand if you read their classics and read all the Masonic literature. Like I'm reading one of their classics called in French you would say Udine. Or, English people call it Undine. It's about this lady in there. I think it's like a mermaid tale, but like this lady who has like this nature. It's a real she'll be really nasty at times, but she in the introduction they said that she lived like basically as a mirror. Basically, it was saying Clan Mother it lives as a mirror in the world. Like you're seeing all these women; these are all mirrors of her. That's the only way she exists. Like the allegory, the mermaid gave up her voice. And that's what Clan Mother. She has no voice in the world. She's just a mirror.
So these women are closely related with the original Clan Mothers. Is that what he's saying?
That's their version of Clan Mother.
Oh, their version. There's a modified version of them with
anything their version is not a good thing.
Huh?
Anything that's their version, that's like that
It's all
they
modified
are
then.
what?
Right. It's all modified then.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything's modified.
Right. So they're not only 2-in-1, they're 3-in-1 at least minimal.
I don't know.
Minimal.
I don't know.
It has to be minimal because the 3-in-1 is basically just the incorporation of Neanderthal medulla, and then they must have instant communication too. So it's at least 3-in-1 from my point of view, from what he's saying. But they must have they're way beyond that.
I think they receive orders too, man. Like because
Well,
all those Nun network, I think it's like they're like a network. I think.
Yeah, it's instant communication among all of them. Instant communication. I mean, they track each other through. It's like these. You know how the movie Terminator, like what kind of like what Terminator sees from his point of view. You can see all these stats, numbers.
Yeah, so that
they can look at each individual.
I made a video about that as a guy who just had the. But that's like later that they plan. Like you talking about like they have the telecommunications, and it's like what they see, they can actually see like a TV in their head. I don't think that's going on right now. I really don't.
Yeah, I believe me.
I think that's more of like on planet. Huh?
I see.
You seen it?
I guess I told you about my experience yet, but I seen it. I seen how they communicate without a phone. That's something
like the voice to skull is a perfect example. Okay, like they can, as far as that, like
I seen people talking without any kind of telephone or any kind of external. They're screaming at each other. They're yelling at to somebody, and they're just communicating with something through some kind of communication. I don't know if is it through satellite or what, but somehow they can. What one person does, everybody else will know automatically, instantaneously. They can see. They can track within their own little network. I guess it depends on how high level you are. It give you certain access to track certain people. Data file. For example, everything what that person has said and done in a day will be all recorded down, and they would know. They can go back to those files instantaneously through some kind of telecommunication system that's built into them physically. I don't know if it's a biological implant or electronic implant that's in them, but at this point, I'm suspecting it's more of the advanced version, which is a biological implant that allows them to communicate with one another and to know instantaneously what they're thinking, what they have done. They can access it into also a central archive, so they store everything. And perhaps they're directly attached with central computers down below. I don't know. But at least, I think minimal, it will be a one-way communication from the central computer to them. Somehow.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because that is something I've seen too. Like in movies, like they show that this woman is connected. It's connected. There's a movie called Solaris. In this movie, the lady's connected to this.
What's the movie
computer.
called?
It's Solaris. It's a George Clooney. Really good movie, man. George Clooney.
Okay, maybe I gotta check that one out then. Solaris.
But like she's connected. You see the allegory in it, but she's connected to this thing. She's communicating with it.
Right.
She doesn't like. It's weird. Like it's telling her what to do, giving her instructions.
Like they can also. They can also read people.
It's been past 10 minutes.
I think so, yeah.
I don't want to call it back too soon.
Well, the fact is, they can also read people. If they embedded something in you, they can reach you. People can. I mean, I have people on the street, on the train, on the metro station. When I'm walking, sometimes they look at me different. Like they know something about me personally. I mean, I get these weird looks all the time, and I don't know everywhere I go. So somehow they can read certain groups. They
What
can.
type of area do you live in?
I live right.
You live in a suburb or urban?
I live right in suburb, but I go to places, but I live near D.C. I consider it as the
D.C.
the womb of the Virgin Mary.
Peace.
No, where is D.C. located?
What? Where is D.C. located?
D.C. located.
No, I don't know geographically.
Virginia and Maryland.
Yeah, Virgin
Right?
Mary.
Right in the womb of the Virgin Mary. Right in between.
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes down there, man. Like in Washington.
Yeah.
Oh
Definitely.
goodness, man. It's,
I personally don't
every
think
single block you can get robbed on every block. Like in New York City, you have neighborhoods where okay, some blocks are bad, so you don't go on those blocks. But every block I heard in Washington, it's bad. Every block is like a bad area. Like you go to Brooklyn, not all parts of Brooklyn are like horrible. Like
Where do you live again?
Me?
You live in Brooklyn?
No. I live in Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in the suburbs.
Oh, okay.
I live near the Hamptons. Sort of. 10 exits down. But not even. Yeah, 10 exits. No. Like
I'm just asking you guys to see if you guys have like similar experiences.
yeah, you definitely have different experience because you talk to a lot more people. I talk to people too, but you're more practical. You seem to do more and like face to face, I guess.
Not necessarily, because I can't really find anybody like
I have
outside
that
of internet.
opportunity to do that if I was to be in New York City more. Go to New York City and just.
I think it's really too difficult to do it the way you're talking about. Especially,
Not really,
especially these days, nobody knows each other. And New York City is not really known for friendly people.
What you have to do is you have to go to be part of those like 9/11 meetup group protesting. You'd be surprised, man. The people that are there, they're not necessarily all. It's just a place for people to meet up.
Mm-hmm.
Some people really are about the 9/11 thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to really, like find somebody.
Just to go find it and look. You'd be surprised when you go out and you meet people and you just.
I mean, yeah. I mean, try. I mean, I'm not telling anybody to not do it a certain way. I mean, try all different sort of. I mean, you have your own way of being able to connect with somebody. I have my own, very limited in a way. You know, I can't really meet in real life, but based on what they're telling me and based on what they're saying, I kind of sort of get an idea who they really are.
Yeah, I can never.
And to me, it's not. To me, it's getting to the point where it's not really that hard for me to figure something out. Like
off of the internet and phone.
Yeah, it's not really too difficult anymore.
I mean,
they
there's
do.
a lot.
Because all their people have to sort of let everyone know that who they are in a way. If you do understand that language, and I think we're at the point. I think we're at the point enough to get a general idea of who they are. Whether or not they're genuine, or whether or not they're their employee, things like that. I mean, we're near that point. Even though we don't need to have. I mean, not part of anything. We don't need special equipment to do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this guy.
Okay.
Oh.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey.
they just canceled her credit card because someone through PayPal got a hold of her number and has begun to use it.
I had somebody that did that to my account too on PayPal. I'll never use that. I will never use PayPal again. Especially you don't want to attach your checking account to the PayPal. Yeah, never.
So they said they were going to send her another card, but it's all part of the harassment that has been going on since she's arrived in Ogdensburg. Glowing letters of recommendation, and nobody's offering her a job, yet they're advertising for nurses and directors of nursing almost on a daily basis.
But Glenn, like, they're doing all this. What do they want from her? What do they want out of her? What do they want?
Well, you got to remember that there's 4 teams plus the cap. And the 4 of them have different interests. Priests have one line of thought, military people have another line of thought, corporations and politicians, again, are different. The only thing they all have in common is they all have clerks. And all of them belong to secret societies. Those are the only 2 things they have in common. So they hire the clerks that are linked to secret societies, and that's mostly, Eastern Star, 5th level. Without realizing it, the 4 teams are being destroyed from within. That's the whole theory of the Trojan horse. And so the word Troy comes into play in the word royals. And Turkey was the home of Troy. And the island on Lake Superior is called Ile Royale, Royal Island. So what do they mean by within? Well, it's the new slave is going to be modeled on a woman exterior, but a big woman, big mamas they call them. This will be probably between 6 foot and 6'2", with shoulders like a middle linebacker. But when you're going to bed with her, you should always remember that inside there is the body of a man, the skeleton of a male, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, and of course, testes. So that what you're dealing with is going back in time to the time original human beings were female and were hermaphroditic. However, this is a boy called Sue, and the reason they call her Sue is from the word pseudo. That means phony, because she's not limited to just being the 2. Like a capital letter A, she's linked at the head, and there's a crossbar tying everything together like a stepladder has a crossbar. And that's the Neanderthaler, the dean of dollars, that is the medulla or the neck that listens to the requests of the brain to search the archives called the spine, the gray matter in the spine, for all old information that might be relevant to decision making today, and transport that information up to the brain. That medulla has been changed, as I said before, from one that was modeled on good and evil, right or wrong, to one safe, not safe for the individual. If one chooses to go down the wrong path, the medulla can call upon the reins it holds in its hands and affect the endocrine system of chemistry throughout the glands of the body, or it can call upon the neurons that run the electrical networks and bring the body to a halt, to cause depression, to cause the feeling of tiredness, to cause unhappiness, disappointment when it's doing the wrong thing. At the same
How do you help
time,
somebody break somebody out of that? Because I know somebody personally who they've been at a halt. They just can't move anywhere. They're totally depressed.
Well, the first thing is understanding what's going on, and then overstanding it so that you can be making the decisions rather than your medulla. And that requires the ability to transfer information to the brain without going through the medulla. And that means having longer hair, and hair that is uncovered or untwisted through unnatural means. And it takes time to bring it to that level. And if you want to assist it in dealing beyond there, that your intuition goes back to creation, you have to have the help of outside forces. To me, the best outside force is the cat, that act like repeaters in a communications network, so that you can, in fact, be speaking to the agents of creation without seeing them right beside you, although that's also possible. Or you can be open to communications from creation itself. For me, in particular, I have a process by which I receive information from outside this four-dimensional universe, probably in the fifth and sixth region, which is what is known as dark matter. The word dark shouldn't even be there, because the word dark links you to Noah's Ark, and that's not something that existed outside the universe, but for their own reasons they've added that. And the same thing as when this universe was created, it was full of dark matter, but that has been reduced by about 70%, so that it's now replaced with dark energy, and what is causing, in my opinion, the expansion of the universe to the point where destruction is the only outcome. In any event, what I do is between the hours of 1 and 6 in the morning, mostly in the period between 2 and 4, I open myself up to communications from creation. What form that takes is hard to describe, because there really is no real comparison in our world. But I had once filed charges against a whole bunch of politicians and police, which went to court. And 3 years later, it was dropped when the police force assigned to reinvestigate never did anything, just sat on their hands for 3 years and let people forget. At that moment in time, the Deputy Minister of Justice called me in a public format mental. And what that means to different people is up to them to decide. Some secret societies would say that it means the mint. And the mint is where you make new coins. And it was suggested to me that I was surrounded by loonies, which is the $1 coin in Canada. And I would help convert them into toonies, 2 in 1. In fact, what I believe he was telling the insiders is that I deal through mental telepathy. That's the only English translation of basically what you're doing when you're speaking mind to mind as opposed to through words or voices. It is supposedly the method of speech of the Neanderthalers and computers below ground as well, and the reason why their mouth appears to have collapsed is both for the fact they don't eat solid food, and secondly because they don't use their mouth to speak the way we do.
And do you think these? Because I spoke to a person who claimed to be visited or something by some type of.
I'm not hearing you.
I spoke to a person that claimed to be visited by these people, and like they said that they had they could define matter, like they can go right through matter, type of thing.
Yes, I can only tell you of my own experience, and I'm not a believer in wooey stuff. My own experience leads me to believe that from the day I was born, probably in a lab someplace and delivered to my mother, if I decipher her words correctly, from that point on, I was guided by scouts and guides. The difference between a guide and a scout is a scout goes first and lays down a trail. The guide comes next and leads other people down the trail that was marked by a scout. Well, throughout my entire life, whether it be in school or in college or at work or whatever, I've had 2 groups of people surrounding me, and they change over time. And some were working the best they could to cause me trouble, and others were working the best they could to help me. But these are normal, everyday people as far as I can tell. Until about a year ago, there was an event on the farm here. And it was one of our supporters who was sitting down with Tommy around a campfire near the front gate and smoking dope. And people who I know to be supporters, helping me with my security that I've called the cell, came into the house and said, "Come on, you got to go with us. There's a guy at the front smoking dope, and that could very well be a setup for you to be arrested as running a place where people come to take drugs." They took me out past the barn at the back and across some of the back fields and asked me to sit down and wait there. So there's a lot of detail that I'm not bothering with right now, but I sat down. I could hear the sound of 3 people talking near the fire. One was David, one was Ian, one was Tommy, and laughing, that kind of stuff. So I wasn't that far away. And it's possible, because it was past my bedtime and it was fairly warm outside, that I fell asleep. And it's possible that what I remember was a dream. But it didn't feel like a dream. Same people came back and said, "Here, get in this box." And I got into a box in what appeared to me to be a van-type vehicle. The box wasn't long enough for me to be completely stretched out. I had to tuck my knees in to be in it. But it wasn't uncomfortable either. The vehicle then drove for a distance of what could be handled in about 5 to 10 minutes. I then was brought into a house, normal bungalow type house, normal furniture, sat in the living room with 2 of these people that I have known of for 20 years. And we had a chat, and the chat basically revolved around leaving the house, and I was basically told that they had taken precautions of dragging a tarp that I had used to cover a cage where I'd caught a skunk, so that the scent would throw off anybody who was following with dogs. They would not be able to smell me. And I said something to the effect, "Smell me? What about you?" And the response was, "They wouldn't have smelt us." I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, they wouldn't have smelt us. They couldn't have seen us. They wouldn't hear us." "What are you talking about?" "We'll deal with that some other time." We were sitting in the living room, and I remember on 2 or 3, maybe 4 occasions, because it was starting to feel chilly, and I had had a number of cups of coffee that day. I needed to go for a pee, and they said, "Okay, go." And I would get up, and I wouldn't be in the house. I would be in the grass. Out of a box, stand up in the grass. I recognized the area as being part of the farm. I peed on the ground, got back in the box, and all of a sudden, I was in the living room again, continuing the conversation that we had started before. And this happened 3 or 4 times. And at one point, I was told, "Okay, you can go home now. They're gone to bed," or something to that effect. Nobody came. So I got up. I was in the grass again. I say I can't swear that it wasn't a dream, but nothing about it seemed like a dream. I walked home, went to bed. In the morning, gave them proper shit and reminded them that although this is their place too, if the police came here looking and finding drugs, looking for and finding them, there would be an article in the morning paper to go along with it. And it would not even bother mentioning their names. All it would say is Glen Kealey, the president of the Canadian Institute for Political Integrity, was arrested last night for running a drug house of some kind. That would have been it. And that would have meant 20 years of work gone down the drain. Since then, Ian has not returned. Since then, David has not returned. Since then, Tommy has apologized for his role, although he said he was not taking anything except the beer. We know the rest of the story with Jennifer and Ambika arriving and Ambika and Tommy becoming a couple, and Jennifer and I agreeing to be married, where she returned after she went and filed her notice with her employer. She returned for a practice session that they booked a week before the wedding, but when we were in the practice, we said, look, this is costing a lot of money, traveling back and forth. Can't you just marry us? I mean, we're not kids here. We're 59 years old and a 55-year-old nurse. So, don't need to play games. We're getting married basically because that ensures her ability to come to Canada. We have agreed to live together for the rest of our lives. We don't really need a piece of paper from the government. But if we didn't go through the piece of paper business, she wouldn't have been allowed in Canada. Not that it mattered much, because from that point on, somebody, and I suspect it's linked to the Valkyries again, made certain that she was in waiting at the border. They were, in fact, notified she was coming, and she was ambushed.
Now that Valkyrie, Glenn, that Valkyrie, I think I know who that Valkyrie is. They own the king. They own the house, the property, or whatever. They're holding it.
There is Valkyries that are males, although not too many. They were like the eunuchs in the harem of old. And their job, as I said before, is basically to take over the world so that there can be only the one visible gender, and then begin a space exploration program. And that's the method defined by the computers, that they would fly out of the solar system from the Cap continent, search the Oort cloud for minerals or resources that might be of value, inform the computers of what they had found, and new group of colonials would be orchestrated to go out and help and do the job. Unlike the pilgrims that came to the U.S., however, every brain would be on automatic pilot, listening to instructions from head office 24/7, and the head office listening to everything that's being discussed in their presence wherever they may happen to be. And if they needed to increase their numbers, it would be done by artificial insemination means. Body, basically, on the outside would contain the telephone. On the inside, if you consider the medulla in the neck to be the listening part and the left breast to be the talking part, it hears everything that's going on in that surrounding. Right breast as a ground positioning device, an antenna linking to a standby ship that has all of the communications devices in it. They call it a pod for one, or an iPod. Telephone is TELUS. So listening, speaking, communications to a computer, all added to the 6 parts that are male, female, and Neanderthaler. That leaves open the final piece of the puzzle in the cleavage between the breasts would be a gill, allowing them to live equally well in water as they do on land and in spacecraft, making them what they call triphibian. Phi is a very important word in their world.
Yeah, phi. Yeah.
PHI. In sororities, it means top 10, like the brainiest.
Yeah.
In the physical world, it means fat bottom ladies, because the word is hip. In the military, it's hip, hip, hooray. Yes, sir. And AY is linked to I, who is the genetic engineer of the 18th dynasty. The model of how they've progressed in the world is Queen Ty, the time of the 18th dynasty, is the leash or the rein on which they pull. And every male in Western society is made to wear a tie or a leash, rein where they can be walked around like a little puppy.
Big time.
So that's the plan for the long term. We are basically at the end of the trial period, and the next period of time, the next 1,000 years, is the merging of all of this technology, not as mechanical or technological instruments, but the conversion is being done into biomaterials so that it will be just like any skin and bone you're carrying, except one part of it will be a telephone. One part will be a gill, one part will be a communications device. And it will have an exterior iPod keeping track of it all the time that can provide a quick escape, much like the police provide to politicians these days. They drive the getaway car. Keep an eye on the news. We're going through a period in time where the leadership of everything is being questioned. And a lot of people are applauding that that's happening to police, it's happening to the military, it's happening to politicians. But there is a plan behind it all. The plan is not as nice as what people would imagine. You're getting change, but it's not change for the better in the long run. It's change for even worse than what we have today, if that's possible. Now, as far as Jenny is concerned, we've started a campaign of information being sent to the ministers and deputy ministers of the government. The deputy ministers are the actual people who run the department. They are being embarrassed by what one or two deputy ministers are doing and have demanded change. And as a result of that, I have been informed that my pension will be returned to what it was in December, and that the only one not cooperating is our equivalent of the IRS, which is called CCRA, Customs and Revenue Canada. So I don't know where that will go, but we got a call from a lady at the Department of Citizenship and Immigration, Canada, on Thursday, and she said that they are being overwhelmed by people sending messages that they've received faxes from us, and that they are the ones who are holding Jenny hostage. They have promised that a removal of the people who've been on her case has been done, and an investigation begins now, that they will be back to us within a few days. Now, I've heard that kind of bullshit before in my life.
That stuff takes months.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting them to live up to their word, and therefore I'm still faxing them every day, and will embarrass them in any way I can. I've already told them that they have failed as human beings, that there's a recall out. Those people who don't put their act together and run their departments the way the people expected them to run their departments are going to face consequences. That consequence will not be diverted by any of their protection groups like the federal court or the Supreme Court. They will, in fact, be called to account. I know it's all being prepared.
Appropriate jurisdiction?
Appropriate jurisdiction, yes. If
Andy wanted to ask you a question.
Start acting properly, there will be a wash, a cleansing.
Yeah.
And that will take out a number of people immediately. But the worst part is all of the water is all located, whether in South Dakota along the Missouri River, or in Idaho, or along the Great Lakes. It's all located to go over a lot of nuclear energy that will release radon gas. And when radon gas is released, a lot more people get cancer.
Yeah.
When we look at Bhopal, chemical release killed about 8,000 people overnight. Very few afterwards, a lot of deformed people. But if you look at Chernobyl, only a few people were killed on the first night, but 1 million people died in a year of cancer.
Yeah.
And in this area, this is not Siberia. In this area, if people, yes, I heard people die of cancer, there will be many, many, many millions of people. And I suspect before this is over, you're looking at least 2 billion people who would die.
Mm. Yeah.
I have to leave you.
But is Andy still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening in on everything. It's a lot of information.
He wanted to ask you a question, Glenn, about, what was it, inverted pyramid?
Oh, yeah. The only thing, I guess, going back a little bit is how does the inverted pyramid structure work? Because the only thing that I can attach to it right now is the computer below ground. I can't really attach anything else to it. So I kind of a little bit confused on that front.
I'm not sure I know what you're asking.
Like he wants to know, because he says he said the nuns are at the cap, and then you have
you basically mentioned that the great nouns are what you suspect is the cap. So, but that is still the upright cap you're talking about. We're not talking about the inverted cap that you had mentioned before.
The rest is secret societies, and Freemasonry is a large player in that. But much bigger than that is ecclesiastic Freemasonry, the Freemasonry of religion. And it's all based upon a starting point, which is Noah's Ark, and the allegory for genetic engineering. Nobody would believe that you can bring two animals of every kind on a ship. But you can, in fact, take the genome of everything that's alive down into the ground to the moho discontinuity and have it as a lab. And its agencies on the ground have township, the word ship, in their name. Citizenship, township, all have hips in it.
Mm.
So those are the key phrases that you look for. But who's running the show? I live in Grenville Township. Well, that means that the Premier of Ontario, as a governor of a state in the U.S., would have no authority over this place. By adding the word ship, it's saying it's run by the captain. The captain is in charge. And the only one who can give orders to a captain is an admiral. Admire is the basic structure of the word admiral. Admire Al. Al is la in French, the feminine principle. Not the feminine, the principle. They're not women.
So Andy, you meant like from Hal to who's the next hand that receives, say, like an instruction to make it up to the secret society, to make it up to the surface.
Like I think from the computer, basically. It sounds like it's the
they would be Neanderthaler.
Right.
They would be Neanderthaler at the level called Cro-Magnon. But the short term is Chrome. And the model for how they run things is the chime. If you look at a chime, it has some device hanging out at the bottom that is affected by the wind. It leads up to a point in the middle that becomes kind of a knocker, and it's surrounded by 8 chrome pipes of different lengths. Each one is like an organization responsible for a task. They all come together at a cap. That cap is like the Vatican. And then there are strings to attach it to something else that's higher. And that's usually a beam that you tie it on if you're putting it on a building. That beam is something like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the platform that's above it is the leadership groups that run the world. So it's kind of an upside-down construction. You're viewing it from the wrong perspective. It can all be turned around. But the notes that it produces are what Danny and I have been looking at with Gerd on the notes played in Close Encounter of a Third Kind. The chime I have is called the Gregorian chant. So within Gregorian chants would exist these 8 notes.
There was a philosopher, his name was Jacob Boehme.
Yeah.
Talked about the sound coming back.
I must go because my dinner has been on the table for 10 minutes now.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you again. Make an appointment.
Okay, I will.
Yeah. All right, Glenn.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Glenn.
Hello.
Yeah.
There you guys are. All right.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at it from the wrong perspective, like he said. But I mean, I didn't quite exactly get what he said completely, like the charm. To be honest with you, so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to look at it at least in writing. So.
Oh,
there is something. So you guys need to take off now, right?
Yeah, I guess if you guys want to get off. I was thinking I might have the other one, at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock my time. I don't know if anybody else wants to.
The group conference call, the other conference call.
I mean, we're still in the conference call itself, right?
Yeah, but this one's different.
The different.
This one's not publicized.
No, yeah, it is, but like not anybody can just come in on it.
It's invite only.
Oh, okay.
Different format, I guess.
Yeah, it's different. People, the things that are talked about are different because the people who are in the conversation are kind of.
They know what's going on already.
Process, yeah. So,
Well, you heard what he said earlier, like how everything's being moved, shifted, converted from mechanical, electronical to biological, which I know they already done it. I mean, I've seen it. I wouldn't say I've seen the actual physical, biological inner workings of, but I've seen how it worked. So to me, if it's inside the body, chance of being an electrical or mechanical device to me is very less, slim. unless it's biological.
Yeah, he was saying that in another talk where like certain universities specialize.
So in a way, so I don't know if he's personally seen it or not, but his research seems to be matched with what I have seen.
What it is just that it's a following a trail. You see this word, and then you see it'll take you to this, and that will tell you everything. It's like it's a form of overstanding and then understanding. That's what it is. So. And
an aspect that he says there's some kind of him connecting with the dark matters or dark energies through mental, what do you call it, telepathy, or how do you say it?
Telepathy.
Telepathy. I wouldn't even say telepathy because telepathy is mind to mind.
Well, it's anything that it's anything that comes to your mind that doesn't really you don't know where it comes from or something. But you don't really see you don't see the other opposite side that's communicating with you. So it's kind of like it's kind of like an inner voice coming to him, telling him all this stuff. Which
I don't know. Inner voice is like we all have inner voice, but he says it's a process that he kind of goes through, and I think it's different. It might be different because I go through my own process, but like I can't really relate that to you. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like that in a way, but it's not. How can I say it? It just feels like it's something's feeding you directly. It's not like you have to think through all this stuff and then the answer comes to your head. It's not like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know you're saying.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah.
It's something I'm not really. I have an idea, but like something that for me to understand more, I actually have to go there and talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, I think I gotta go through some stuff as well. Yeah, I guess I'll definitely prepare something maybe next week, if not 2 weeks from now.
Anything you're gonna do, Andy? Here's a good piece of advice. If you're gonna do something major, a movement, don't even tell me, man. Don't say it on the phone. Don't tell anybody on the internet, because we've seen from first-hand experience that
the fact is,
anything that's said is hindered.
No. Anything that comes into your mind is already being stolen. That's where we are. I'm telling you right now.
No. Like if I notice, if I don't say it to anybody,
I know,
then nobody will know.
Yeah. Talk to you a little bit. Yeah.
I hear what Andy's saying though.
Yeah, it's your thought process being completely overtaken already. For certain specific individuals. I know I am. Glen's definitely part of it too. I mean, it's not going to leave him out. There's no nothing that I or him thinks.
But he has more direct contact with people who are helping him.
But that's kind of like illusional.
It's because of the property he's on, I think.
Well, that to me is a little bit strange because, I mean, that's like saying there's something beyond the control structures that's on this planet.
What happened?
That this control structure on this planet can't control.
No, it's not even. It's people in the system, right? I mean,
you mean there's a actual opposing opposition?
There's people in the system like who will find out, that their role they're going to be exposed. That's only natural, I think.
So basically, these oppositions are so rude, or you could say these people gone rude as are helping him, assisting him somehow.
A perfect example is they show a show called, even The Matrix was even a good example of that. Or even they're part of the system. There's no doubt.
The Matrix is a mirror. The Matrix is a mirror
it's a part of the system.
Them operate against the masses.
Yeah, but look, they show factions, they show programs, part of the system, but there are ones who seem to go against the whole system.
The problem, like Glenn or anyone that's speaking out, is that they don't want those people to know that they're going to die too. So they have to prevent and and cause all these obstacles so that you don't get that message out to them, because they don't want them knowing that they're going to kill all of them, all their workers, because they still need it to happen. So if you're sitting around informing everyone that they're going to die too, then then it's going to stop the plan. So they obviously don't want that. So, hence all this stuff to distract and to get cause all this delay.
Yeah, like the stuff like me, like I'm making videos to try to like open somebody's mind in a visual way. You need a lot more than just the visual, but with that, and you got to see like the shit that I had to go, I went through, man. I don't even have a computer anymore.
Yeah,
I don't even have a computer anymore, man. It's just it sucks, man. But I don't let it get me down, because this, I'm not like Glenn Kealey. I'm not like from another generation who's not really familiar with the computers and stuff. So there's other ways to get out there. Like this right here. Talking. And I have a lot of ideas in my mind, things I can do. There's so many things we can do, man. Just use our brains and just use these materials, to benefit us, to benefit us. And we're not. The only thing is, we're not gonna get massive amounts of followers, of people who whatever, like, because these guys have every other thing, every other conspiracy, they seem to all have like the ones that have thousands of people, do it. It seems to be only a certain frame of thought, really.
Those people just divert. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just this material. This stuff is just way too far for most people. I mean, just they don't have the time. They don't have the will to do the work.
Yeah. A lot of people tell me about Glenn. They're like, I can't listen to him. I fall asleep. I'm just bored. Like,
yeah. Obviously, they
want to get entertained, man. It's like
one part is that they don't have to. First of all, they don't have the personal experience that to verify it. And then even if he says something right, they just don't want to go take it
over their head,
I guess. So, they just don't think that most people have like 5-minute attention span. They don't want to listen to anybody for more than that to get a general idea. They just want to ask, so who are these people you're talking about? Who are they? If I'm mentioning.
They want it all in like a documentary.
They want everything presented to them like infomercial style type of presentation. Present them.
That's why I was going to work on a project with
5 minutes
to do a documentary, but that documentary wouldn't give them the whole picture. It would just be like, it would get them be like, well, happen, to that world.
Then again, those are probably the wrong people to advertise to anyway.
Yeah, no, but like,
yeah,
you'll catch people who will, who will respond. I'm not looking for everybody, but you will, like, just from doing what I do, I've been doing, I've found a few people. Couple people, but like all these people, I'm starting to see. Like I understand. I think I accept that now. That, everybody that I find that anybody who even responds, it's like you have to work with them at least for a year for them to actually get it.
Actually, I taught you the
that's what I went through. It took me a year to actually kind of get the gist of things.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning phase,
I was looking at it, but like these people who are looking at it, they're not really involved because they feel like they don't know much about it, so they just kind of sit and watch.
I personally don't think us knowing Glenn and us knowing each other is a coincidence in any way. So I think somehow something connected us, and that we still don't really know why. I mean,
yeah, I'm looking at my life, right?
Yeah.
And how I know Glenn, and too many synchronicities, man. Too many. things like I like about the people who raised me and the people who I was around as a little kid. And it was never accident, man. Like I think that's what they talk about in Mahayana Buddhism. They talk because in the Mahayana Buddhism, at the center of everything is like this supreme being who's it's an eternal state of yoga and meditation. And through a thought or a will, it can cause illusions within itself. So what they're saying is like this computer is a brain, right? And the reality that we all believe in here is like a neuron in its brain. It's just like
Well, have you thought about
cause an illusion just from like it's just because this computer is in fourth dimension, but it can think fifth dimension. It can like think. It could like it understands time way better than human beings can.
Gotcha.
So it can like cause events, foresee things, and like have it all working synchronistically, type of thing. Like,
I gotcha. Yeah, I think you're totally right on that. There's no way that they can set all this up in such a complex system and make everything work.
A computer, only a computer could run us all like this, man.
Have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought that our brains are part of this computer too?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Where are the individual nodes that's out there?
Our medullas is the direct connection.
Right, right. And they can tap, that the system can tap into.
It can tap into your experiences. It's like you have a dirty pervert in your mind watching everything you're doing.
Yeah.
It's the same. They use that allegory in a movie called The Lovely Bones. Or even Arthur C. Clarke made a story about that. It's about the parasite. It was just a guy in his mind watching all his experiences. Just sitting there and just waiting. Rewatching them and almost laughing at you in a way. And that's in the end, though. That's why I asked Glenn. I said, about Neanderthals visiting people. Like I don't mean like some like okay crazy alien. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy alien. Well, I think their mindset. This scientists are like they're the type of people who are born and they have a child or they do a certain task. They have their offspring will continue that same task. So like they're not gonna just give up scientific research. I don't think they just give that up, man. That's part of who they are. So they have a computer.
Surprised.
Yes, they have a computer running things, but I know they must.
To me, I'm just surprised that they didn't use the knowledge that they created it to improve themselves.
They did.
In a way.
But
they gathered up the knowledge.
They went
put
too
into
far
a central
ahead, though.
system. Yeah, they gathered the knowledge, put it into a central system, but they never managed to.
What do you mean improve themselves? And how? What way?
Genetically, enhance themselves.
That's the problem. See, like they did all that. They tried doing what they figured out that by going too far ahead that they destroyed themselves. They went too far.
So somehow there's a
that's why they don't exist as a race anymore. They don't even have mouths anymore, man.
I don't know if they don't exist as a race. Like even Glenn was just saying that they go.
To me, that shows some kind of that they didn't plan things down the road very well. To me, that seems to be strange because they seem to be so far ahead of everyone else, but they can't foresee the problem that these experiences will destroy themselves without any. They
couldn't see it. They could. They actually did see their own death. That's like one of the curses they have. Like they could see when they were gonna die. They actually put that in the allegory, so they could see when they would die.
So basically, now they're probably
what were you saying, Dana? Dana, you
I wouldn't say that they don't exist anymore. Like I mean,
know
even
they
as like,
exist.
Well, the DNA is still part of us, right?
I'm talking about as still as their own beings. I wouldn't say they don't. They're just not there anymore, and they just live in a medulla somewhere. I would think that they're still there.
Yeah, I do think they're still there, but they're not really like a force like they were in thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago.
I mean, what you're saying is that they don't have their own DNA locked up somewhere that they can reclone themselves.
No, they can't even clone. Like, I watched so many like allegories and read stuff about these guys. Like, there's a series called Star Trek, Stargate. I watched you can download it. It's like
Stargate, yeah,
80 gigabytes, I think. No, maybe less.
You mean the Stargate series, TV series?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, watch that series, man. It tell you everything about how they do release religion, and it'll show you the Neanderthals. They'll show you like, and in one episode I remember they were like they would try to reclone themselves, but they couldn't do it anymore. So the race was dying.
Cloning that we don't know.
Huh?
So there's a limitation to cloning that we don't know.
Yeah, that was in the thing, and what they did was just kill themselves, committed suicide.
So cloning.
So that allegory of them committing suicide is something that's recurring. I'm finding it all.
So there is a limitation of cloning in that case. But we don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
It sounds like, it sounds like there could be some kind of degenerative force after each cloning happens. There may be some limitation to it.
Yeah, maybe that's what part. Maybe that's
forever.
Oh, you know what? You know what's interesting? That's a good point because maybe that's what's part of like, cause you know how they don't even have mouths, they don't even eat like like they used to. Maybe they lost the power to reproduce on their own too, and they're using science to keep them alive, to try to keep them alive, and they're failing. It's very few of them, and we are their hope. They say we are their hope. We are their their link.
We are their hope to be used as a host for them to continue to live on.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because this thing would be like a straight robot. It would be a complete robot. So the mind is going to be Neanderthal. The mind is going to be Neanderthal. So Neanderthal is going to be the G host in those bodies.
But if the mind is going to be Neanderthal, then why are they putting themselves in the medulla? Why don't you just put them?
Well, actually, that's what Glenn mentioned months ago. That's what the computer decided to do. That it basically looked at everybody was equal to it.
Problem. Maybe
that was all. The slave was equal to the Neanderthal, human being, all equal. So they weren't in charge anymore. That's what it was saying. Computers.
So if it's a control-free type programming, then obviously
it's their programming. That's them.
Yeah, right. That's them. But according to right now, the computer represents basically more of a representation of them that are in control, which means they don't want any kind of opposition to grow, to oppose them in any way.
No, it just because they saw like they weren't fit to even be in charge anymore. That's what it was. It just said, okay, these people aren't fit to be in charge anymore. So
they don't. Well, the fact is, their usefulness is up. There's no purpose for them to exist because I can do everything that you guys do.
That's what happens when you advance like that at that level. Beyond, like they're not doing it at the proper timing. They're altering themselves. That's what happens when you alter when you alter something like that, a race of people on a massive scale. You're gonna have backlashes. Like look at humanity.
Well,
I mean, they were clan mothers, and creation would have picked the perfect time.
Right, which means they screwed up the timeline.
Yeah.
They basically put everything into a time warp and fast it forward, and that kind of screwed up the timeline. And now, I guess perhaps that's one of the reasons why everything has to be redone, because otherwise creation might step in and destroy this planet altogether if they don't do that.
Well, you know, Glenn was telling me too. He didn't mention it, but he said the whole point, you know, with the dark energy. He said it's past the point of transition. Like, there's no way. The only thing that you can do now is to see if creation can let, you know, this planet survive for another 5,000 years.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's past the point of transition. There's no going back.
Well, seeing the fact that how many opposition there really are that wants to change for the better.
But they're better as Neanderthals, but just everybody.
Right. That's what I'm saying here.
Like their lenses, like they need a clear sight. Like their sight's all an illusion on one level. It's like higher levels of illusion for everybody.
Yeah.
They got the basic illusions for the masses, which is kind of it's pretty complex. Then you got higher levels of people who have truth, but yet they still have illusion. Still
It's
illusion.
The illusion's very well crafted to keep everybody confused. I mean, the way I'm building up, how I'm seeing is everyone, no matter how well I track each one of these individuals down, there's always something that they do that just doesn't add up to what they're doing, to the complete puzzle that I'm trying to put together. There's always something wrong, no matter how, no matter which road I take. It's just each one of these sources, each one of these individuals, each one of these groups, something just doesn't add up. So that's
I find it's like there's three things. Either transubstantiation, instant gratification, or you just want to be self-serving. Oh, that's the two same thing. Instant gratification.
And that's, like I said, that's probably the only common denominator I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Which means that there really is no opposition. So that's why I feel kind of strange how, like Glenn, and somebody helping him in a way, that actually would prevent problems for him to. There's something. There's got to be some higher up. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to change something. Maybe they're really trying to change something for better. I don't know. At a higher level, perhaps, maybe. You're a Glenn easily if they want to. And why? And then another question is, why would they want to remake Glenn again?
Why would they want to remake Glenn?
Yeah. What's the point of creating him in the first place? To create trouble?
He was a scout.
Huh?
He was a scout. He had a job to do, but he woke up, man. He broke out of programming.
But
I mean, that program is really insane.
But then again,
program.
They can
it's
guarantee
a
him.
Genetic thing.
Well, they realize that fact. They can, immediately find remedies to that problem. I mean, I don't know why I still don't understand why they're keeping Glenn alive.
Remedy to what problem? What's the problem?
Well, I just don't understand why they're still keeping him alive at this point.
If they kill him,
the critical
you
phase
cause
right
a problem like that. When you do something like that, you cause too many people start asking questions, and you make it something that you want to kind of just swept under the rug and forgotten about. You make it worse.
Well, unless there's a opposing operation forming at the higher level, then I really don't see how this could happen in that case. You know what I mean? I mean,
no, really.
I mean, if they really want to get rid of him, they can get rid of him easily. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, they can get rid of him.
Yeah, they can get rid of anybody. Because everybody can like clone. Everybody can.
They can get rid of anybody, but there's repercussions to things, man. Every action is an equal and opposite reaction, man. They know they do the same thing. They kill people, right? Who are on their side, but they make those people martyrs, man, and people start worshiping them even more because they died.
That's why they don't.
There's a guy called Rick Clay. I heard the guy was killed.
I know.
Right, by somebody, and I'm looking at what he's talking about. I really find it like some of the things he said maybe, but like for the most part, like what was he really saying? He wasn't really saying much to in my opinion.
Right.
They kill their own people,
He might be just a scapegoat to farm on certain things. They sacrifice. It's a sacrifice basically.
And plus, you gotta look at Glenn's history, right? The guy did all that thing, Parliament hell. You can't just kill a guy like that.
It's got to be like a whole difficult. It's got to be like a whole ritual or something. But the fact that
they said they want to kill him is actually expecting.
He was an initiate.
Who?
Within some kind of order. Within some kind of.
He's not an initiate. He never was.
An initiate to like a Reiki or something like that. Order or something. It's something. Something that's more on the New Age stuff, I think.
Reiki.
Reiki or something. R-E-K-I.
Reiki.
Yeah, what about Reiki?
Yeah, Reiki. I'm not exactly sure what's Reiki is all about, but I like it.
Like spiritual healing.
Yeah, something to do with healing. Yeah, it's like a method of healing. That more New Age related than anything else. What I'm saying. But that's still initiate. Still initiate.
Nope.
Anything that initiate, that means it's an order or some kind of organization.
Wait, you're saying Glenn was initiated in Reiki?
No. I'm saying Clay. What's his name? Clay.
Rick Clay.
Clay. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's all part like he's New Age, like so.
Yeah. He's part of New Age, right? So
I'm looking at him like, what's he really like? They made a whole they made a martyr out of this guy.
Yeah.
This is somebody else, just like Bill Cooper, man. Bill Cooper said some things, but he was still part of them. Yeah. He was still theirs.
He works for the Navy.
His name is Cooper, man.
Yeah, Cooper too. Yeah, I know.
A lot of these guys, man.
They just want him. I think he was becoming a
He's
boss because they wanted Alex Jones to be the lead on this front. So they can't have
not
him
just
around.
that, maybe that too, but if you see, like, when you're making a movement, you gotta have martyrs and people who, it's like religious, it's like Christianity. They have people who died and were killed and
Jesus
killed for Jesus. It makes that movement so much stronger. So that's what they're doing. Like, it makes it seem much more real.
Well,
like
let me ask you this:
they have these leaders.
You know how the magic trick works? You know how the good magic trick works?
Yeah. Huh.
No?
Nope.
Through sacrifice. Very good sacrifice. Watch the movie called Prestige. Have you seen that?
I think I've seen that.
Seen it?
Think so.
Think so? Starting with guy in the new Batman series. What's his name?
Oh,
yeah.
American Psycho. American Psycho. Psycho?
Yeah. Okay.
What's his name?
It's a good movie. We're talking about magic illusions and sacrifice. It's the Illusionist with Ed Norton.
Christian Bale?
Yeah, Christian Bale. That's him. Yeah, that's him.
The Illusionist, remember how the girl died in the movie? She sacrificed
Illusionist,
herself.
yeah.
I mean, that was a whole allegory, the whole movie.
Key to illusion is to create a sacrifice that was seen by the people. It's not a sacrifice, but it's sacrificial part is on the magician side. Then the sacrifice creates illusion, and then at the end, the main part to the trick is to make the viewer or the audience to believe. The key word here is to believe back. Then the trick is success. Is it considered a success that they have done? They've created the best illusion. Basically, the audience has to believe back at the end. No trick, and no good trick comes without a price. I guess that's what they're saying.
The biggest trick is sacrificing the whole population. So that's.
Well, that's the plan. That's the.
That's part
I
of
don't
the
think
illusion.
that's a trick. Well, yeah. I mean,
they're trying to trick nature. It's the same allegory as the Watchmen. The guy said we have to trick. He had to trick the whole world by killing the whole world. You watch that? That's a really good movie. I want to watch that again one of these days. That movie was really good, man. The guy, it was like the smartest guy. These are all archetypes, all like aspects of familiar things you see in the system. But like the guy like fooled in his mind. He was fooling the whole world into killing himself, into I say killing himself. He killed off and sacrificed a guy basically for the betterment of everybody in his mind. It was really interesting.
well, this Jesus allegory is the ultimate symbol for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get something to eat. If you guys want to have another one, a different one, a group one, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like.
Well,
Brian's
yeah. I mean, we can have another one if we can get more people next time. I'll say just plan ahead. Plan ahead, and this way, let people know at least a week prior to the conference. That
the group
we're gonna meet up.
Saying,
yeah.
You're talking about the other one.
I'll say at least give a minimal a 1 week notice. Otherwise, sometimes some people just can't make it if you do all of a sudden.
Well, what I do is every Saturday I have one, so people kind of pick up like, okay, it's Saturday, look out for stuff.
Right.
That's what I do. I don't put a set time because that type of stuff, I don't like doing that because.
You want to see who's going to be around because you're trying to see if you want to do another one tonight, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah. I can post it on Facebook. Everybody should post that link on Facebook.
What is it?
So everybody can see. Like, you post it, I post it, Andy post it. Everybody post it on their Facebook page. So you'll have people who join in. Or even
I do want to get another person.
Yeah, but you have to post it on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm gonna invite. Actually, I met a few people that really want to.
You have like 2,000 people on your page, man. Somebody's gonna go.
I want to get a few people that I know that are in the system. I want these people to join in, to see what they have, what they can say.
So are you trying to do it tonight?
No, not 7 o'clock, maybe 7:30, something like that. I'll post it up.
I mean, we can't call Glenn again. I want Glenn to be on.
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying it's just a group where people talk. It's about Glenn. It's not.
Without Glenn? Well, I kind of want to get Glenn involved too, because.
Why would Glenn want to talk to these people? Because Glenn doesn't have time for that. He doesn't have time to talk to these type of people.
No. Well, he doesn't have to necessarily talk about it because some points are really important that kind of.
That's what you're for then. When we talk in this thing, you bring up those points because Glenn doesn't. The reason why he did this talk, is to trying to, in a way, because he knows
just
like,
present his
we'll put it out there.
Right.
We'll put it out there, and that's why he talks different. He doesn't talk like that when it's on a one-on-one conversation. Yeah. He put everything out there in a format. As an
I guess I don't want to start a debate or anything over the phone.
No, he's not doing it. He doesn't have time for that.
Man. Yeah, I know. I guess that's not a good idea then in that case. I mean, okay. I mean, I will still, invite those people. Then we can just do like a group conference on our own.
What I do is I just put it on my page, and whoever comes.
I didn't get a Skype set up because I don't know. I don't want to keep using the cell phone next to my head, and the phone bill is probably going to be pretty high. I don't know how you guys deal with the phone bill, but I only got like 1,000 minutes a month.
You don't have unlimited nights and weekends?
All right, let's
I don't think so.
get off here. I'm gonna get off. Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna get up.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah. Later.